Tonight, coronavirus exploding coast to coast. The U.S. adding 1 million new infections in the last week alone, pushing total cases to 11 million and forcing more states to crack down. Today, the governor of Washington, the latest to tighten restrictions after daily cases surged to a record Saturday.
Now we're facing a third wave that is trending to be more dangerous.
They're fighting a war here and they're losing. The sheer numbers of people succumbing to the coronavirus is overwhelming every hospital in northern Italy. The staff are working flat out trying to keep these people from deteriorating further. They're trying to stop them from dying.
First Samuel 30 verse 4. So David and the troops with him lifted up their voices and wept until they had no strength left to weep. The scenario is that David and his troops are returning back to Ziklag from a fight, only to find out that their families have been taken and there is a bigger battle to come. And this situation is so relatable to each and every one of you in the room today. Life is a fight, and every single one of you is in the middle of a fight, fighting to get the bills paid, fighting to finish school, fighting to keep your marriage away from divorce, fighting to go to work, fighting to get a promotion, fighting traffic, fighting to raise those kids, fighting to even come home at times, fighting for your health. And what you and I both know about life is that life does not fight fair. When you're in the middle of fighting for your health, boom, your car breaks down and there's another bill. Life is a fight. This is where David is in his life. He's in the middle of battle after battle after battle. And at this point, David's men had turned against him and were ready to stone him. He was at the brink of giving up. And many of you today are at the point where you're about to give up, standing on the edge of failure, where hell has thrown the kitchen sink at you, and life has drained you of your resources, and where people that promised you they will always be there have left. At the point where David was, many of you are today. At this point, what did David do? David encouraged himself. His wife wasn't there, his children wasn't there, his commanders and his generals had left him, but David encouraged himself. At a point in your life, you will have to encourage yourself. Your mama won't be able to do it. Your daddy won't be able to do it. Your pastor won't be able to do it. You will have to stand as an individual and talk to yourself. I am a child of God. I will get through this. This will not stop me. Greater is He that is in me than he that is in the world. Nowhere in the Bible does it encourage giving up. Everyone around David had given up, and people around you will give up. You need to have the understanding that they're not built like you. Greater is He that is in you than he that is in the world. When the going gets tough, the child of God gets going. When the odds are stacked against you, when hell is coming in for the kill, when retreat looks like the only option, when it looks like there's no way you will be able to win, when your back is against the wall, encourage yourself. Because at this moment, that's when the God of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob moves into action. His strength is made perfect in weakness. At the point you're about to give up, at the point where you are tired, that's when the Lord's strength comes into play. David encouraged himself.
Came back that's when I started to hang around old playmates and playgrounds, and my thinking started to relapse. I didn't, by the grace of God, go back in my addiction, but I did start to mentally relapse, thinking old ways, like that was going to take me down that road. And out of desperation, I was looking actually for AANA meetings, and I had been to all of them when I came down to Alamosa, but for some reason, now I know that it was God, like saying, those aren't where you need to be. So I saw the light on. I was at a stoplight on State and 6th when our very first church was in the corner, and I saw a light on, and I had seen this church, and I had said, well, I think I'll check out that church sometime. I just never did. I had been there, I think, for a few months. And I happened to look over, the light was on, and as cliche as it sounds, I literally just followed the light. I needed somewhere to find refuge, somewhere to come back to me, because I had just picked up a harassment charge that day after all my hard work of getting clean and getting out of legal cases and all the rest. So when I stepped foot into that building that night, I was broken and crying and just crying out for God's like mercy and his comfort. And I walked in, and it happened to be a youth night, and I remember that one of the brothers took over, and Pastor Martin kind of pulled me aside, because we were on a street where it was actually at the time was mostly bars. And so they weren't sure, who I was and where I had come from, and was just being careful. And so he took me aside to talk to me and asked me what was going on, and I kind of poured out my whole life story in one sitting really quick, and just told him where I was at. And he prayed with me, and I felt the world just kind of lift off my shoulder. I felt Jesus Christ just kind of lift it all off of me. He invited me to church, and I've never left. I've been coming since for coming up on 13 years. But during that time, God used my life experience, including the bad choices, to get me into an employment position where I can actually not only help others that are walking that path as I did, but also I get to minister, because the job is so flexible that God has just anointed the position that I could use my past experience to help others that are in those positions and those systems. And when I'm asked, how did you get through from being where you were at to where you're at today, I get to tell them that it was Jesus Christ that delivered me.
Watching people drive by, T-Mac on the radio. Got so much on your mind, nothing's really going right. Looking for a ray of hope. Whatever it is you may be going through, I know he's not gonna let it get the best of you. You're an overcomer.
Samantha Armijo. I am 20 years old, and I want to give God all the thanks for what He's done in my life. You know, growing up, I knew God, I knew the Word, and what I was supposed to do. I was raised in church my whole life, and you know what? Through that time, I decided to do my own thing. I decided to go my own way, and you know what? It led down a destructive road. And you know, I was just very naive and thinking that the world owed me something. And I went through that process for quite a few years, through my whole teenage years. And you know what? I wish I would have gave my life to Christ sooner, and I know a lot of people say that. And through that time, I found myself in a dark place, just needing and wanting something. I tried filling my life with a bunch of other things from the world, and it just wasn't satisfying until I came to Christ at 16 years old. And you know what? I had a true relationship with Him, and He just filled that hole, and He made me feel that I was loved, that I was worth everything. And you know what? During that time, I went through tribulations and trials, and I did fall away from Him. And I slipped away for about 2 years, and then I came up to Colorado for college. And you know, I wasn't ready to do the whole, you know, serving God thing. I was just wanting to do my own thing in my own life and live my own way, because I was finally free from home, finally free from my parents' grasp. And coming now to the realization that God had everything planned out. And I ended up meeting up with the pastor's wife, and she invited me out, and I was just not wanting to hear it, because I didn't want to, you know, look at my sin and say, this is wrong, and come back to God. But you know, God found me back in this dark place, and He brought me out, and I regained my life again to Him. And you know what? Just serving Him, and Him being able to show me how I'm loved again, and you know, just the joy that I have now, and just be able to conquer all the things that, you know, people have told me in the past, saying you will never amount to anything, you're nothing but this and that. And God showed me different, and He's like, He showed me His ways, and just, you know, just knowing that I am a child of God, and I'm worth more than others say I am, and just be able to overcome my past, and to look above to a God that I know I'm loved, and just the road that He's leading me down. And I can't wait to see the rest of the outcomes that He has for me. And I just want to give Him all the praise and glory, and just thank Him for that.
I have loved you from the start. I have seen your hurting heart, and you feel so lonely, but you keep on hiding, 'cause you feel so guilty for what you've done. But there's no distance too far that I can't reach you. There's no place that's so dark that I can't find you. Anywhere that you are, if you need proof, take a look at these scars. I love you. Doesn't matter, doesn't matter, doesn't matter what you've done. You are never, never too far gone. You have run down every road, and you've lost your way back home, and you feel so dirty. You know